Hey guys, it's Tom Box. Welcome to MST.TV. I know you guys haven't seen me in a while. I've been working on my own wedding, but also I've been doing research on the deck that I find most fascinating to give to you guys the in-depth look into, boom, 3-axis Dragon Link. I love Dragon Link to death, and huge shout out to, of course, the one that popularized it. That is going to be Matteo Bertolezzi, who finished second place at YCS Utrecht, or Utrecht. You know, just correct me down in the comment section. I really don't know how to pronounce that word. For this video, we're going to go in depth into the deck profile. So this is going to be a longer one. So time code is on the side already. And we're going to break it down card for card to figure out the synergy. And for those of you guys who are interested in playing the deck, we're going to go into the strengths and the play style of how everything kind of works together, why it's so strong currently. And then we're going to go into the weaknesses of the deck if you're only looking forward to beating this deck. Yeah, then we're going to talk about the cards that you can use to make it struggle a bit more to execute some of these plays that they're so good at doing. And finally, we're going to demonstrate some combos at the end so that you can see how it kind of builds up their board, how it kind of interacts with the opponent. And we're going to try to go through multiple combos with a regular standard, and we'll try to do the Griffin one, and maybe even a couple of test hands. So make sure you guys hit that thumbs up button, hit subscribe, ding notification bell if you guys enjoy long videos like this. And you can even listen to this one like a podcast, and let's just jump into it. This deck is really big. It's a 60 card deck. I managed to tune a couple of cards just to my own preference, but you don't have to if you don't want to. And I split this into 3 parts just for the monsters because it's like 40 something monsters. We have engine starters, we have the combo pieces, and we have level 3 extenders. All right, so let's start it off. Now Cherubini is on the field right there because you're trying to get into Cherubini as soon as you can, and it is the key card of the entire deck. Starting off with double tour guide. Because this is a 1-card combo, you can set up both your Dragon and your BA to get your end board, rip a card out of your opponent's hand, and we'll showcase that one very soon. Another type of 1-card-ish combo, we have Lone Fire Blossom, which fetches an instant fusion because we're playing with the Predaplant engine. So basically you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so far 5 starters out of a 60-card deck. That's not nearly enough, but luckily, of course, you can still normal summon this. That puts it to 8 starter cards that you can use as your opening play. And yeah, your opponent's definitely going to try and stop you as much as they can. Is Tour Guide worth ashing? I don't know. It depends on how many extenders I can keep going. And this deck is just full of that stuff. So Orpheus Scorpio, one of the more amazing cards as well, because you can pair it with the Darlingtonia Cobra, giving you 2 monsters and helps you fetch the instant fusion for a dragon. So yeah, that's why there is so many opening plays. That's 8 cards are 1-card engine and 9 cards because you have also Terror Top. Terror Top can also fetch you a Titanborg. Now, Terror Top does not set you up completely. You have to do an alternative play. You need a normal summon to kind of continue the play so that you can use your Cherubini Send to get your dragon. So that's why it's a little bit awkward when you open with this, but you don't burn your normal summon. So it's still a valuable play opener. That's most of the play openers for now, and then we go into the BA engine. Of course, we have 1 copy of Graph. Graph is mainly there to special summon a Seer, and if you have Seer in your hand, you can summon it with Libic, but normally you don't want to see any BA cards in your hand, except for maybe Fiendish Rhino Warrior, which is decent because when it's sent to the graveyard, you get to Foolish into the graveyard a Fiend type monster, which can ultimately set you up. And there's a lot of free special summons from this deck. And going into the dinosaur side, we have Gillosaurus as one of our free summons, but more importantly, it's the Carbon Nettins. The Carbon Nettins themselves act as another monster because if you're too low, you can use this as one of your level 3s. And Cherubini doesn't send Fiend type monsters, it sends level 3 monsters into the graveyard, so you can send a Carbon Netted into the graveyard, ultimately getting you a vanilla dragon. And the vanilla dragon of choice for us is, for me anyways, is Baby Dragon because it's level 3. Now, I know that the Mateo's build runs Hunter Dragon, and it's not that it's wrong or anything. It's still correct. In fact, it's a bigger beater, so it actually perhaps has more utility in the long run, since most decks right now, if you look at Lunalights, their attack stat isn't exactly that high. Baby Dragon isn't going to beat over anything anytime soon. I just don't have a Hunter Dragon, and I'm trying to maximize on the win attribute so that I can also work with the Titanborg if I draw into it, so I can use this as 2 3s. It's a possibility, and I just like, why not? There are other Wind Dragons, but the other Wind Dragon is actually 100 stats lower, so that's why I'm using Baby Dragon instead. Baby Dragon is back, actually in the game. But yeah, this deck is rather budget if you think about it. Most of these cards are relatively cheap. The only part, let's just say half of your deck is actually made up of Appaloosa in terms of price, Borreload Savage, and maybe your Jackalopes and maybe Cherubini, and that's it. That's everything else. The entire main deck core is really cheap. Anyways, that's the engine starters for now, and we're gonna go into the dragons. Okay, the rocket package. Firstly, we have Rocket Tracer, Magna Rocket for a level 4. We also have Rocket Recharger for a level 4, and it gives you a little bit of protection. We have a level 3 just in case we need to use Quick Launch to summon out an extra level 3 to set up our play. And we have an Absol Dragon, part of the combo play as well. The combo would send this card to the graveyard to fetch you a Rocket Tracer mid-combo, because you can do so with Curious. You maybe even do it with a Foolish Burial. There's many ways to send stuff into the graveyard with this deck, and it actually relies on the graveyard quite heavily. This is, of course, your 1-card access to Borreload Savage, so you can finish it as a part of your end board. Now, Magna Rocket is kind of interesting because it's more or less an effect that sends a monster to the graveyard without targeting. But the thing is, I think Silver Rocket is a little bit stronger with a 1900 body, but I think that the more important factor is that it can rip a card out of your opponent's extra deck. And since this deck, if you do a mirror match, if you just rip apart the Cherubini, it's really hard to get anything started. And if you have any level of negation at that point, I think it's fine. You should probably be able to outmaneuver your opponent by then. That's just my opinion for now. And moving on, we're going to Dragon combo pieces. We have Omni Dragon Brotar, Chaos Dragon Legionnaire, and Galactic Spiral Dragon. My favorite dragon so far. Man, this card is just amazing because it gives you access to your rank 8s by simply having dragons on the field, and it can convert stuff that's not even dragons to 8 as well. But you're not going to be using that effect. You're just going to overlay this one with Chaos Dragon Legionnaire if you do the standard combo. But if you're in a bit of a weirder situation where you summon up Brotar, you can't get rid of it because you had to do a weird workaround because LP's still on the field, then you can convert this one to a level 8, overlay these two together, and then leave a 3k beat stick on board. So that's also an option for you. But mainly this is to finish the board with one of your negators. Now, as for Dragon Extenders, this is very important because I find that sometimes you have your play, but you have no dragons. You get to the Cherubini and you just don't know what you're doing. It feels really weird when you don't have an access to a dragon. So you have Destrudo because it can become a level 3 by hitting a level 4. Or it can become a level 4 by targeting a level 3, but it does cost you half your life, so be careful in time. We have Crusadia Draco. I am playing this one. Mateo did not play this. I cut out Emergency Teleport for this because I don't need an extra level 3. The level 3 isn't the issue. It's not having a dragon, and this is a free summon of a dragon as long as you have a Link Arrow. And typically, you'll have the Link Arrows available, and since it's a special summon, it's good. You might have considered also Defrag Dragon. Oh, it's level 3 and it's a special summon, but the sending card to the graveyard is pretty pricey, so considering how much you discard, and you're gonna eat hand traps as well, so you need to maintain your hand. So that's why I'm choosing to play Crusader Draco. It's also wins, so Taki Tomborg gets special summon. If you get a free special summon and then you don't really have anything else to continue going, if you normal this and special summon Taki Tomborg, you can still continue your play. So that is why I'm choosing, and you would have a dragon on the field too, so that's why it works out for me anyway. There's also White Dragon, Black Dragon, and I guess we have Seifert, because Seifert is not exactly a great card to draw. It's decent because you can do this, and you still kind of do the rocket combo, but there is no Red Eyes Darkness Metal in this deck. And with the lack of Red Eyes Darkness Metal, there is also no Saryuja. If you can refit it, if you choose to do that kind of combo, you can choose to take out Nightmare Unicorn to fit that. I think it might be worth it if you're more comfortable doing an old school rocket, rather Dragon Link combo, but that's just up to you. And that would be all of the dragon pieces. These are level 3 extenders. It does matter on one part, which is the attribute. So dark ones, they can help you get into Curious because you will always have a Dark Fairy and maybe a Dark Fiend. But the dark ones are definitely the better ones for sure. It's because it can push into the Curious, give you an extra card to send from the deck to the graveyard. So we have double Jackalope, double Tsuchinoko, and no other dangers. So that's another part that can be expensive part of the deck. Double Junk Forward, because they're free summons, and if your opponent decides to, basically they're kind of forced to spin stuff back into your deck, and if they spin your Cherubini, then you can just make it again. We have also Psychic Trackers, because if you control level 3, you get the special summoning out this card. This is why this card, I kept every single copy I had in my bulk, because I think it's really amazing. And this is the card that is very awkward. 3 of her, the Kakemucha Knight. This, I'm not a big fan of this card, but it is a dark, that's why it is a 3 of, and opening in your hand, it does like trigger because it is a trigger based effect. So if you normal something, this will activate, and you can perhaps use it to create some level of well, I guess chain blocking, quote unquote, because you can summon Tour Guide and you have Kagemusha Knight, then you just chain that together. Yeah, it's a trigger based effect, so it is what it is. It's interesting. And yeah, that's basically the entire monster lineup. If you guys can cut stuff out, let me know down in the comment section below. And we're going into spells now. Spells, starting off with Foolish Burial, because you can throw in your Carbonetta, you can fetch your Carbonetta with your triple Fossil Dig, or you can dig a Gillosaurus for your extra level 3. 2 Fossil Digs means that you have your combo as well, so that's pretty nice. And Foolish Burial can fetch you, like, I guess, additional extenders. Perhaps you can throw Safer into the graveyard to re-add your Chaos Dragon Levianeer. Chaos Dragon Levianeer is, well, of course, really busted. We have triple Quick Launch, so that you can either fetch a dragon or get a level 3. That's why it's there. We have also Instant Fusion to fetch us a dragon as a part of the Orpheus Scorpio play. So there's 2 lines of the combo. We have for our field spells, we have Boost Sector Launch and Dragon Ravine because we play with rockets, and we also want to throw a card into the graveyard to put the Galactic Serpent into the grave. This is the part that I didn't really bother too much on changing. I considered it, but there's Dark Ruler no more in case you're forced to go second, and lots of people build really sick boards. A lot of people are maining Dark Ruler no more now. I think it can be a standard because the board breaking is just insane, and this deck can't afford the space to do it. If you just happen to have it in hand, most of your combos require like 1, 2, maybe even 3 cards, so having a Dark Ruler no more doesn't exactly hurt you. Triple Cop of the Grave, you don't want to get hand trapped by, well, an Ash or something basic like that, but it doesn't stop Gamma, so that part still sucks. But it's still nice to have a safety net in case your LP gets ashed. And for the last card, of course, is the trap. We have Anti-Spell Fragrance. I had the choice between the Imperial Order versus this. Depends on your preference. I had instances where I had Call by the Grave set with the Imperial Order. I was playing against Lunalights, and I was baited into activating the Imperial Order first, and then they just kept on bouncing most of their stuff back because I couldn't Call by the Grave anymore because Imperial Order was live, so that part really sucked. But if I had Anti-Spell, I would have stunned out the Scales, and I would have been able to use Call by the Grave in case they had anything else left. That's why I'm choosing to use Anti-Spell. And if you're worried about Mystic Mine, if you went first, then this shouldn't be an issue. You could probably do a switcheroo in the side deck if you want. I'm not showing you a side deck because that really depends on the event that you are playing, and I feel like the side deck is going to get altered because this deck is also part of the metagame now, so that's why I have to figure out what I really want to do. But Triple Lightning Storm, Red Reboot's pretty nice because you don't really want to eat into a Floodgate or into a Counter Trap. Counter Traps hurt so much these days, and you can kill your opponent if you just get a good Red Reboot. Extra deck, I'll start with the main cards that are essential to the combo, starting off with Cherubini, the Ebon Angel of the Burning Abyss. If you lose this card, you basically die, but this card sends level 3 monsters from your deck to the graveyard. Then you can target a Burning Abyss monster itself on the field, and it gains attack equal to that until the end of the turn. Okay, so you use this cost to send like your Carbonette in, your BA monsters in case you already have access to your dragon. Use that so that you can set up a revival with Seer and stuff like that, or perhaps you're forced to go into a Draco Master of the Tenyi because you can't really extend that far, or if you're able to put out the dragon and your Seer, then you can go into Curious, and Curious will send another card, which is usually the Absolouter Dragon, and once you get to the Absolouter Dragon, you can get yourself the Rocket, and if you use a dragon, that means you would have used a Striker Dragon to also have added a card to your hand, so you can get a free summon of that card. So as long as you have 3 downward pointing arrow, much like this Draco Masters of the Tenyi, it usually works out. And don't forget, this card cannot be destroyed by battle with an effect monster. However, you can't really use its effect unless you don't control any other effect monsters. Yeah, so if you control no other effect monster, you can destroy effect monsters your opponent controls up to the number of non-effect monsters you control in your graveyard. So there's going to be a maximum of 2, one from the baby dragon and one from one of the fusions that you're going to summon out. And Curious, usually you're just going to link him off into an Appaloosa anyway with the Cherubini because he's just free summoned from the Seer. So that's mainly part of the engine. Looking into the Guard Dragon package and the Rocket Dragon package, we have Striker Dragon, as we mentioned before. As long as you can put a level 4 lower dragon, you get that for free. LP Pisty, because they're best friends. And we have Romulus. And that's the entire dragon package. There is no other dragon. There is no Saryuja. If you can fit a Saryuja, please let me know. I would appreciate that because The one card I'm considering cutting is actually Nightmare Unicorn, but that's a spot removal. That's really hard to cut. Nightmare Phoenix, and we also have Nightmare Griffin for re-adding some of those traps that we send to the graveyard with Curious. Sometimes you don't need to go into the big play. Sometimes you just want to stun your opponent out from being able to access anything, so then they have to pass their turn, and then you get to kill them. To me, that works out very well, and it also just shuts out any pendulum play. That's why I like it. And for the boss monsters, finishing board of the negates and the beat stick of the deck. We have Boral, Sword Dragon. There's nothing to explain there. Our fusion. Instant fusion target is Dark Fire Dragon. It's because it's a dark, and it's also a dragon. We have Borreload Savage Dragon, and we have Hope Harbinger. Typically, your board is going to end with a Wind, Light, and Dark, so it's not super polyable, so your opponent doesn't really enjoy using super poly against you if you go first. But that's just me pushing out this board. Anyways, let's go into the strengths. Okay, strengths of the deck, we're looking into consistency. Consistency is king, even though it's a 60 card deck, it dedicated more than half of its deck just to summon out 2 level 3 monsters onto the field. And if you just look at the top row right here, this is your low resource combo where your opponent would be tempted to kind of go trigger happy and just activate their hand trap. But that's usually wrong, because if you have any level of extenders right here, they're still going to fail because they now burn their hand trap, and you've simplified the game state to the point that you can use Chaos Dragon Levianeer against them. And Chaos Dragon Levianeer is also one of the best things from the Blast from the Past, where you can rip a card out of your opponent and consistently, and it is part of their key combo. So yeah, I don't know how I feel about that. Seeing that, you know, getting people's hands ripped apart, starting with 3 cards and 4 negates, it feels really, really bad. And looking into Cherubini, it sends cards for cost, so you're guaranteed to send your level 3 monster into the graveyard, no problem. It could be a Fiendish Rhino Warrior or any of your BA cards, or a Carbonetin if you need access to a dragon, which is why you can always execute on it. And this middle row here, this row is showing you the mid-range combo in case you do get hand trapped, or in case you do get disrupted. If you have a copy of Carbonetin with a Kagemucha or a Gilasaurus, or any of these monsters really, because they're just free summons, you can execute the combo because you have access to the dragon. Or if you have Fiendish Rhino Warrior, you can do the same thing because now you have access to the BA right away with the Cherubini. Cherubini protecting the Burning Abyss monster so it won't destroy itself. Namely, we're looking at the Seer that would normally self-destruct, but which under Cherubini's arrow, so the arrow management does matter. You get to basically keep your Seer, and then you can use it as a link material later on to summon out Curious. So this middle range here is just very important as well. And look at look how easy it is to access a lot of these cards. You have triple fossil dig. So in other words, you're running 6. That's about 10% of the deck. That's still not too bad. Like even if you run a 40 card deck and you run 3 copies, you max out on something, that's still not technically 10%. So you have access to your cards very consistently, very easily. And a lot of these are just free summons. You just don't really waste anything. Your normal summons are up there, which is fine. But anyways, down here we have, of course, the package to go into Galactic Spiral. This is very interesting. This stuff is just free searches that kind of come along the way for you. This gets sent to the grave for free. This gets put into the grave for free. This gets added to your hand for free. And these cards just come along as you do your combo. You go get your Romulus and your Striker Dragon. Now, if you only open a handful of these monsters right here, you're going to need access to some dragon. If you don't have access to a dragon, it's going to be really, really rough because your board isn't really going to go anywhere far. And as for your end board, Appaloosa, Hope Harbinger, Boral, Load Savage. You can probably put a Griffin in there if you're really, really sacky. Like you open all the extenders, then you just have to mash out your combo properly. I think that's how you can execute it. I've been having a little trouble executing it consistently, so we'll see whether or not I can demonstrate it later on. But that's the strength. But now in terms of the weakness, if you want to beat this deck, Grave Disruption is one of the key weaknesses of the deck. Aside from that, they also have a bricking chance of having Darlingtonia Cobra. They have Baby Dragon or whatever level 3 Vanilla Dragon, which kind of turns off the Carbonetin. And of course, Drawing Graph. Drawing Graph is absolutely awful because if you special summon it, that means you don't have access to Seer. If you normal summon it, then you can't really link off into anything. So that's why Graph is one of the worst monsters to draw into. Like, luckily, if you draw into Seer, it's okay because you can use Libic. Libic can actually summon out the Seer from your hand, so it will still save you. But Graph, those are the big 3 bricks, I would say. And there's also a potential chance of breaking with a multitude of level 4 monsters instead, and you don't have level 3. It still happens. It's not likely, but it still happens. Now, Grave Disruption, of course, being the biggest weakness. If you look at Cherubini, sends the graveyard's cost, cannot even attempt to activate. And there is Fiendish Rhino Warrior, Carboneddon. These also require graveyard access to be effective. We have Absolute Router, won't trigger if it doesn't hit the grave. Spiral Dragon won't be able to be sent to the graveyard. In other words, if you draw in your hand, then you have in your hand. It's not exactly a combo piece for you, and it's kind of a bricky draw for you. And in terms of like White and Black Dragon, they don't work either. Destrudo can't really put it into the graveyard. So there's a lot of pieces that require to hit the graveyard to really get things going. Brotar as well. Chaos Dragon Levianeer needs to banish stuff from the graveyard in order to summon itself out. So overall, once your graveyard activation gets disrupted, you're missing out on free searches and everything to kind of set things up. So in terms of cards, you can use Abyss Dweller. Abyss Dweller just turns off the graveyard entirely, and that's pretty brutal if you ask me. And you won't be able to execute a full combo once you're under Dweller's non-activation effect. And then there is also Gamma. If you Gamma the right card, Gamma probably use it to drain out the Appaloosa. They'll probably be able to summon out the LP, but if you're playing a rank 4 deck, you can probably go into Utopia double and just punch for game. So that is a certain weak point that you have to be very careful of. Different Dimension Ground, you can disrupt the cost of the Cherubini, and it's also all the triggers that happen in the graveyard. That's not happening. So if you're going first, Different Dimension Ground is an option as well. An early draw on Lockbird, the deck searches quite a bit. You search from the Absa Router, you search from the Dragon's Ravine, the Boot Sector Launch, and the Brotar, Terratop. There's just a lot of cards that actually do search, and also don't forget the danger monsters that fetch a draw as well. Those are also searchable. White and Black Dragon, yeah, the disruption does matter, and key part of the combo right down here, that part won't be accessible, and that's pretty brutal. And also, you can use Mystic Mine. In my build, Mystic Mine hurts a lot more, and Mystic Mine, yeah, if you go first, you can probably prevent it from just like disrupting you by flipping an anti-spell, flipping an Imperial Order to keep all your monsters live. Okay, that's fine. But if you get baited and then they drop a Mystic Mine, it's really hard to kind of draw into your out. So just consider that as a factor that you can just get jumped. Nibiru, if they know when to properly Nibiru, maybe, but there are outs against Nibiru. You can actually play out of the Nibiru that they give you and just continue to combo off. I've tried it myself. I might actually just show you in a little bit. Super Poly only on when you're going first. If you Super Poly when you're going first, you can set it up so that when your opponent is about to go into something big, you Super Poly it out. Most monsters are dark on the field, and you will be able to go into your Starving Venom. And Sphere Mode. Sphere Mode is really, really good. This deck commits a lot into the extra deck. And once they lose out most of their cards, they'll have maybe a Boral Sword and a Nightmare package left, but it's not exactly a deck that works very well out of the graveyard. You don't really refuel. It's not like Rocket Dragon Link where you have a Tempest and then you can just use your Boot Sector Launch, revive everything. It's not exactly like that. So when you run out of gas, it is pretty brutal. And another one is if you open with a bunch of these and no dragons, that means you can't go off that well either. So that's mainly the weaknesses that I've suffered. And yeah, don't hand trap most of these guys. They're usually not worth it unless it's like a Drone Lockbird. Try to hand trap stuff that's going to build a board in the long run. Oh, as an added weakness to this deck, just beware of time. Searching a 60 card deck is a big pain, and you can completely miss stuff, so there's no solving that. You know, just beware of your own incompetence to search your own deck. Anyways, starting with default combo, you have Tour Guide, 1 card-ish combo. Tour Guide effect. Upon the normal summon out Fiendish Rhino Warrior. I'm just going to go with Fiendish Rhino because we can just set up additional chains just to burn a little more time, I suppose. And we're going to go straight into our Cherubini. And, of course, Fiendish Rhino Warrior is going to activate. We're going to send Graph into the graveyard. Graph's going to activate and summon out Seer. Make sure you summon Seer into a Pointer. Pointers do matter with most of the Dragon Link decks anyway. So now that we have Seer here, well, what are we going to do? We're going to activate Cherubini's effect, and we are going to fetch the Carboneddon. I set up most of my deck so it's a little easy access. Boost this one up since it only sends a level 3. And now we're going to activate Carboneddon's effect. Summon out the baby dragon. This is not going to destroy itself with the Cherubini. We're going to go ahead and turn this monster into a Striker Dragon, because Striker Dragon only requires a level 4 or lower dragon. Striker Dragon's effect is going to activate, and we're going to get ourselves a Boot Sector launch. With 3 dark monsters, we have Dark, Fairy, Fiend, Dragon. Cool, and we're going to go ahead and link this off into our Lightsworn Dominion, Curious. And Chainlink 1, we're going to go with Curious. Chainlink 2, we're going to go with Seer. Seer is going to target the Cherubini. We're going to summon out the Cherubini a little bit further away, just so that we don't block our own zones. And Curious is going to send a card into the graveyard, and it's going to send the Absolrouter. Absolrouter has been sent to the graveyard, and we're going to fetch ourselves a Rocket Tracer. Now, keep in mind that this is like multiple chain links here, because you did send a card to the graveyard. So Curious is going to activate. We're just going to pretend that our 3 mill is going to be a Call of the Grave, and an Anti-Spell Fragment, just so that we're not adding any more complexity to whatever that we already have, and we already have the Rocket Tracer in hand. Okay, so with the Boot Sector launch and the Rocket Tracer, that means you have the full capacity to summon out this card. So with these two, we just want to set up our arrows now. If you have Appaloosa, play Appaloosa. If you don't have Appaloosa, go ahead and summon out your 10E Draco Master. But we're going to go with the Appaloosa now. And we're going to activate Boot Sector Launch. In Boot Sector Launch effect, summon out your rocket, up to 2 rocket monsters with different names in defense position. We're going to summon out the Rocket Tracer to the zone that we're going to use later on. We're going to go ahead and link that off. And we're going to go into an LP. LP effect, we're going to summon out Brotar. Brotar, we're going to activate its effect, target the LP, send away, I guess, 1 card in our hand. It's depending on what it is. You can try to synergize that as much as we can. And we're going to add ourselves the big gun. We have ourselves Chaos Dragon Levianeer. Up to you. If you want to use Chaos Dragon Levianeer right away, you're going to have to banish a couple cards. Don't get rid of your Rocket Tracer. That's the card they want to get back. Get rid of the Cherubini and maybe a couple of your BA cards, because they're not as relevant anymore, because you're not really going to use your BA stuff anymore. 3 darks. That's 1 card out of your opponent's hand. Okay, so it makes life a little bit easier, and if they use Ash or anything, then you probably could have used an additional card to extend, and since that's the dragon anyway, it didn't affect you to any degree. Go ahead and link that off, and once you get rid of your Omni Dragon Brotar, summon out a Pisty, so that there's still 2 zones available. Activate the Pisty, summon back your Rocket Tracer. That's really important. And now that you have these guys, don't use any of these effects just yet. Go ahead and link the 2 dragons off. You know, the Dragon Brothers, now they become a bit of a Dragon Knight. And just be very careful here, because you want to make sure that your zoning is done properly. You can go ahead and put a Romulus right here. And sometimes you want the zone open because you want to go into a Curious, and you have the extra extenders to get into the Curious to fetch back one of your cards. That's how you can do it. You go into Curious, oh sorry, in the Griffin. But okay, in this case, now we're going to go ahead and add the Dragon Ravine. Now we can go ahead and just get rid of this card, put the Ravine up, send the card to the graveyard. Doesn't really matter what you send. Get the Galactic Spiral into the graveyard. You have 2 dragons here, special summon out the Galactic Spiral, and go ahead and link these 2 right off. And with that in mind, I'm sorry, you don't link them off. You go ahead and go make a Hope Harbinger. And you rank up. Now use Rocket Tracer effect. Pop the Romulus in case you want to leave the liability still up. And you can go ahead and summon out a level 4 rocket monster. Specifically a level 4. And go ahead and just synchro the 2 together into this. And now you can go ahead and fetch your Curious out of your graveyard. Equip it, and you're basically good to go. So you'll still have about 2 cards left in hand. You have 2 negates on the Appaloosa. They're down to 4 cards, 1 and 1, so that's more than enough to handle most cases. 4 negates against 5 cards on their upcoming turn, and that's the standard. Okay, now we're going to do with Orpheus Scorpio. So we're going to start off by summoning out Lone Fire. This is kind of like 2 card combo because you need one to ditch. You need a monster to ditch specifically. We're going to attribute that, summon out the Orpheus Scorpio. Orpheus Scorpio's effects can activate. We need to send a monster to the graveyard. So we're going to send Rocket Recharger. That was in our hand. And we're going to dig for, oh my god, Darling Tonia Cobra. Wherever you are. And now I'm going to leave the counter on, well, I guess the timer on for this. Special summon, effect of this, we're going to fetch ourselves a spell, and that's going to be our Instant Fusion. this is going to give us access to our dragon. So we're going to go ahead and link these two off. Link them into a Cherubini. Cherubini, well, there's nothing really activating, but Cherubini effect, we're going to go ahead and send Graph into the grave, summon out the Seer. We're going to activate the instant fusion. Be careful in time because searching deck takes a long time. We're going to summon out Darkfire Dragon. It's a vanilla, and it's a decent setup, I suppose. That goes to the graveyard. Now we're down 3 cards in hand. We're going to go ahead and link this monster off into a Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon is now going to fetch us our field spell of Boot Sector Launch. And again, we're just basically at the exact same point, more or less. Now we can go into Curious. Curious is going to send that into the graveyard. And you're basically back exactly where we are. And yeah, Cherubini is also going to get summoned back out from the Seer. And from here, we turn from here back into that exact same play. Nothing really changed from there. Say you want to stun out your opponent with a Griffin combo now. This is one variation of how to do it. There's other ways to do it, but you have to be very, very careful of zone management. Not that big of a problem in like April, but for now you have to care about it a little bit more. Starting off with Tour Guide, and the other key card is you need Rocket Tracer in your hand, or just a dragon really, and preferably Rocket Tracer because you can actually end on a more decent board at the very least. Or you can use Quick Launch, which can completely replace that altogether. So summoning out the Tour Guide, we're going to special summon out the Graph. We're going to go ahead and link these two together, and we're going to go into our Cherubini. Graph effect is going to summon out our Seer into a zone that the Cherubini points to, and we're going to use Cherubini's effect, send the Carbonetin into the graveyard, and we're going to banish Carbonetin in a new chain, summon out the Baby Dragon. This part's all the same, so going to Striker Dragon as the Boot Sector Launch. This is mainly for hand maintenance, and with 3 darks of a different type, we summon out our Curious. This is the part where it starts to differ. Of course, Curious effect channeling 1, and then we have the Seer channeling 2, so we're going to summon out the Cherubini, and we're going to send this card into the graveyard. Now this is going to trigger this card, and we're just going to mill random cards because it doesn't really matter. So there's the 3 cards, and from here you have to do something different. Now you can go ahead and just link this off into Appaloosa, and if you have a Rocket Tracer in hand, then you want to go into Boot Sector Launch, or if you have any Rocket monster, just drop this and just get that free special summon. In this case, I already have it, so I'm just going to go with a Quick Launch, summon out the Rocket Tracer. This time, zone management is very important. You want to keep this zone open so that the Griffin can go there. If you leave Rocket Tracer there, that means you have to get rid of your Rocket Tracer. So whatever that's here is going to be gotten rid of. So we're going to go ahead and link right now. And we're going to link into our Guard Dragon. We're going to link it right into that position because we're going to get rid of it. LP is going to summon out into this zone, summon out the Brotar. Brotar's effect, we're going to throw away one of our cards, say the Dark Ruler no more. And we're going to add ourselves one of the big bad monsters, Chaos Dragon Legionnaire. We're still going to rip a card out of their hand, and we're still going to put out an anti-spell and a Griffin lock on them just for fun, because we hate Lunalight, we hate pendulums. I guess that's what we're going for. And even if they have Dark Ruler no more, they can't even activate it, so you have a chance to kill them before it becomes a big problem. Okay, so with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and convert this Brotar into a Pisty in this far zone, of course. Don't put it here because you lock yourself out. And you can go ahead and activate Pisty to revive our Rocket Tracer. Now, because it's right here, when the Griffin comes out, this can still activate, so you can still make Borreload Savage Dragon. That's just your option that is available to you. Go ahead and get rid of both of these monsters now, and get yourself a Romulus. You can put it right here, just because you're going to get rid of it. This is one of your key components. Romulus is now going to add the Dragon Ravine to your hand, so now you have this. And note that you have not used Absorouter. You can go into Absorouter if you want to. I'm not sure if you are really into the Absorouter play, but that's an option. If you use the Absorouter play, it's more difficult, I would say. You can put more monsters on the field, but you won't have the rank 8, but you're not really going to the rank 8 anyway, so it's more or less the same, in my opinion, if you want to do that. But here we go. So starting off with the Dragon Ravine, we're going to send a card to the graveyard. Of course, if you went into Rocket Tracer, you see you already had the Rocket Tracer in hand, you went to Boot Sector Launch to summon it out, then you would actually be down a card, and if you summon a Chaos Dragon Levianeer, you won't have enough to actually pay the cost for Griffin in most cases. So just be careful of that. So in this case, we're going to go into Dragon's Ravine, and we're going to minimize the amount of cost we have to spend, so we're going to dump Galactic Spiral. We're just going to get rid of the Galactic Spiral Dragon, and to get that summon, we have to summon Chaos Dragon Levianeer out, so we have to banish 3 dark monsters. Sure, let's just get rid of just 3 random darks right now. Cool. And okay, so we got summon out, rip 1 card out of their hand, activate Galactic Spiral, special summon, and this is link 2, 3, 4. And now this gets banished because we used its effect, and now we can summon out the Griffin. Griffin is actually co-linked, so go ahead and just activate its effect, send a card, discard, and anti-spell set. Notice how I ran out of cards. If I use the Boot Sector Launch, there would be nothing left. And set the anti-spell fragrance. And now you can go ahead and use Rocket Tracer, pop the Dragon Ravine, summon out your Magna Rocket. Go ahead and synchro these two, put them together, and activate the effect, attach a Curious to your Borreload Savage so that you can negate cards and your opponent's kind of stuck under this kind of awkward situation. Upon their draw phase, you can go ahead and activate Anti-Spell Fragrance. If they had like MST or anything, it didn't really matter to begin with, but you can negate the MST, forcing them to be stuck under that lock anyway. That's why it's very fun. Yeah, so that's how you can do it with the Griffin combo. Okay, for this test hand here, it's going to be a bit more interesting. We're not going to have any access to Dragon, so no Carbonated, no Fossil Digs, none of that, none of those 1-card combo. We're going to start with a hand full of just level 3. So these, well, they'll just be in the deck. And see if we can actually get our play going. So we have a lot of free summons here. They're all just level 3s. Of course, this is the 1 card that we can't really use. So in other words, there's really no way that I can really access this Kagemucha Knight. Maybe I can save it for my actual normal summon. So I activate Tsuchinoko. Tsuchinoko ditches. Okay, I get summoned out, and I don't get the draw. I activate this one. Oh, I missed again. This gets discarded, and I have to summon out another Tsuchinoko. Okay, so we burn both danger effects right from the get-go. That's my expectation right now. So what can I do now? I'm going to go ahead and just link these 2 off right away to just explore. This is an actual hand test. I really don't know how this was going to play out. I have this. I want to put this onto the field so I can at least get something, I hope. I'm begging that maybe I can actually do something with it later. Maybe I have to just send it to the graveyard. I'm going to go ahead and normal summon out, or special summon. Doesn't really matter. These 2 are just free summons now. I'm just going to drop them both onto the field through a normal or special. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and activate Cherubini. I think I want the dragon. I really want the dragon right now. So I'm going to throw into the graveyard. There's only 1 guy you can throw into the graveyard to really fetch a dragon. Carbonetin. Gonna banish the Carbonetin and get the vanilla. The vanilla is so important in this deck. It's pretty crazy. And we're going to summon out the baby dragon. So we have the dragon now. We just need... Oh, this actually works out. As long as you have a dark, this could work out in the most cases. But you probably need another extender. But okay, we're going to go turn the baby dragon into... where is it? Striker Dragon. Striker Dragon's now going to fetch us our spell. Yeah, keep in mind of time. Where are you? Boot Sector Launch. And since I'm still searching, shoutouts to Quinn for letting me borrow your Cherubini. And yeah, try not to shuffle every time because you're going to mix up the order, and finding cards is going to take forever. But I don't know. But properly, you should be shuffling every time you search your deck. So that's... Make of that as you will. And I have this still stuck in my hand. This is very awkward. We're going to go ahead and link all of this stuff off. And... go into Curious. I think Curious works best. With Curious, I can go ahead and use Curious, send a card into the graveyard. Let's go with the Observer. So as long as you have a dark and you can go into Curious, I think you can still execute it just fine. I don't think it's an issue. Put the Absol into the graveyard. With Absol in grave, that means I have access to Rocket Tracer. This is a little weird, though. This is kind of weird. Okay, because I had an extra normal summon, because I burned my normal summon on my copy of, say, what's his face? I know I burned my normal summon on something, the Kakemucha. If I didn't burn this on the Kakemucha, I could have burned it here. So either way, I needed my normal summon for sure. I could have normal this. I was thinking like, maybe I can normal this and I can revive more stuff, but maybe I'll just throw this out later on. I'm going to go ahead and activate Boot Sector Launch, and I'm going to convert these two into Appaloosa. So if you have the extenders, wow, I think you can still get there. We're going to go ahead and activate Boot Sector Launch, special summon out the Rocket Tracer. We're not doing any sort of like Griffin play or anything. Convert this. Hey, we can still get there, I think. LP. Yeah, we're doing this the old-fashioned way. LP effect. Summon out Brotar. Hey, okay, hold on. We got something here. We got something going here. Brotar effect. Send this to the discard that. Target the LP, and we're gonna add the Card Ripper King. Chaos Dragon Levianeer. But I'm actually low on cards if you think about it. Effective Seer. Summon back Cherubini. I can't even summon back the Cherubini. I'm actually locked under LP right now. Wow, this is rough. Okay. Well, in any case, I still have to turn this into a... I still have to turn it into a Pisty. Pisty effect. I'm going to revive. What is this? Oh, this is just top card. We're just going to revive our copy of Rocket Tracer. These two are now going to get linked off. And we go into Rami. Rami's effect. We're going to fetch ourselves the field spell. Ravine. It doesn't seem like there's a point to activating the Ravine unless you want to get rid of your own cards. But I'd rather rip a card out of my opponent's hand. I'll rip it out of their hand by banishing 3 darks. Ugh, sucks that I lost the Seer. Oh my god, I just dropped like my entire deck. Banish these 3, summon that out. I'm just gonna hold on to this because it has value to restore my Levianeer. And I can just go ahead and activate Tracer, pop this, summon out. Maybe I just dropped the card. Magna and Synchro. Turn 8. Warlord Savage. We're gonna go ahead. Curious. And if you really want to, you can technically do this and just overlay on top to protect the Appaloosa. 2 negate, get rid of this. Like the Omni negate is gone, so you can get, well, if you get even lead, you're still just trading 1 card, and you can still fetch back some of your cards too, because this is still going to go to the graveyard. You can still summon it again. It's okay. It's not that bad, but this is just an option if you really, really want to push that out there. So you can technically have access to this while keeping this in hand. So yeah, that hand was kind of awkward, but you can still get there if you're willing to extend all your cards. That's all I got for this video, guys. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It really, really helps me out, and also helps me out on my wedding stuff, and it shows that you guys appreciate it. And make sure you hit the subscribe, ding notification bell. I've got ruling stuff to talk about. There's a lot of common misplays, illegal plays. You know what? It's in that range that are happening, and I want to bring it to the forefront. It's so easy to miss because so many of them are just lingering effects, and I even got a couple of discussion topics for you guys coming up. So make sure you hit subscribe, ding notification bell, and I'll see you guys in the next one.